Hey, Nation, Harry here. Hey, this is really cool. Long time listener, first time caller. Laura Steward. How you doing? I've known you a long time.
Oh God, Harry, we've known each other forever.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. First, let's start with your background. You were an MSP, and yes. Then we'll talk about your podcast, your show that I've been on. Thank you. But so what's your story? What's your background? You're in lovely Florida.
I am in lovely warm Florida compared to where you guys are in the West Coast and Seattle area. And I'm a geek, right? Although I prefer intellectual badass. You know, I took the route of computer science degree, the whole 9 yards. You know, I had every certification possible. I taught geeks to be geekier, Harry.
Yeah.
You know, I was a master certified instructor for Microsoft and Novell back in the days of
back
Novell.
Back in the day. That's a good life.
Oh God, I love that Novell stuff. But, you know, it didn't last. And then I started, after leaving corporate life, I started my own tech services company, which we now lovingly call MSPs. And yeah, you know,
you and I have been around so long, they didn't even have the word MSP.
No, they didn't. You know, we were resellers, we were value-added resellers. We had lots of different names, and then eventually it morphed to MSP, and now it's even morphed beyond that.
Yeah.
And after 15 years, I'd grown it to Connecticut and Florida, and I sold the company after 15 years to take care of my parents.
Yeah.
And launched into whole new realms of possibility.
You have. Hey, by the way, you and I share the Yeti mic in common. Love my Yeti mic.
Me too.
Just off camera for me. So and I want to make sure I get this right. Your podcast, it's all about the questions.
It is.
Okay.
Because the right questions can change your life, Harry, as you know.
Yeah. So what's the story on the podcast? How long you doing it? What are the topics? That kind of thing. And I thank you for having me on twice.
Oh, absolutely. And you can come back on again. You're just such one of my favorite guests of all time, Harry, because you always drop value bombs. The show started out as broadcast radio on iHeartRadio 6 years ago now.
Wow.
I've had the show. It's a weekly show. So every week I've put out a show. Even with my hand in this lovely, lovely support system I've got, I still manage to get out a show every week. And the premise of the show is that questions really can change your life.
Yeah.
But it's also people. If you don't ask the right questions of the right people, you're not going to be able to move yourself forward. And I happen to have incredible people like you that I know or that know other people. So I want to give that to my listeners. I want them to be able to get to meet the Harrys of the world so that they learn new ways of thinking. And I have business leaders, health leaders, thought leaders from all different realms on the show to help entrepreneurs have their best business and their best life possible. Because I want people to realize you can shift your perspective if you ask the right question.
Yeah, exactly. The times opportunities have passed me by, and I look back in the background, right? You know, years later, I look back and go, darn it, I should have asked more questions. And I'll give you an example. One of the, and I'm going to forget the name of the game, but it was one of the famous Gothic games that came out, and they had tournaments. It's out of Renton, Washington. Probably remember what I'm talking, but you know where the car Magic, the Gathering. Okay. And I met the husband and wife behind that when the husband still worked at Boeing. I don't know what the wife was doing. And they had their startup in their basement in Renton, Washington. Oh, wow. And they asked me to review their business plan. We met at a coffee shop. I did so, you know, darn near 25, 30 years ago. And, you know, Laura, the opportunity was just one question away from me to join them at that stage. And I didn't ask the question. And I regret that because, quite frankly, I probably wouldn't be interviewing you, with all due respect, we wouldn't be having this interview today if I had asked the right question. They had a very handsome exit, got acquired, and I never heard from them again. So, but you get my point.
I do. That's what it's all about, Harry, because the way you move forward in life is based on the knowledge you have and the people you have access to that can expand your way
Yeah.
of thinking. And, we've been very fortunate in our lives, and both of us have said that we didn't take advantage of something because we didn't ask the right question, or we didn't even ask a question. Forget
Yeah.
if it was a right or wrong or not the best question in the world. We didn't. But you and I, look at your bookcase behind you. We love to read. We love to learn. We love to ask people questions, but not everybody comes from that world. So my goal is to help people see other ways of thinking.
Yeah. Finally, you have, and you basically alluded to it, but I want to emphasize this, that you have non-geek guests. And that's important because I'm trying to break out into some more, a break at my Pocket MBA book, and you interviewed me. I'm trying to make that a breakout book. I'm trying to not be, what am I trying to say? Typecast as a geek, right? And
Right.
You've done that. So maybe one or two examples of non-geeks on your show, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. A few weeks ago, I had Jenny Lisk on my show. She wrote a book called Future Widow. She wrote it after she lost her husband, who died from a brain tumor in 8 months.
Yeah.
And she just had so much wisdom to share with my listeners to say, hey, have you thought about or prepared for the possibility that this person that's in your family might not be there?
That's right.
And that to me was invaluable. I've had doctors on the show to talk about women's health. I'm going to have somebody on my show talking about strokes and what you need to be thinking about and prepare for, and what the warning signs are. Because as entrepreneurs, we tend to get so focused on what we're doing. And then, I had John Warrilow on last week.
Yeah. Built to sell. Yeah.
Built to sell.
Good guy. Yeah. Good guy.
Because there's a business side to being a geek too. And I think it's really important to understand the business aspects of things. And I've had people that deal with psychology. Dr. Joan Rosenberg, 90 Seconds to a Life You Live, talking about how to process through emotions that may be stopping you from moving forward. So to me, it's not just a single-minded focus being a geek. We need to think about all the other pieces of our lives that combine it together so that we can become a whole person.
All right. Hey, hope you'll join us again. I want to make you one of our regular analysts, and we'll double click into some topics. So if you don't mind, Jenny in the radio control room will schedule you for another session, and appreciate you being along for the ride at SMB Nation. Thank you, Laura.
I'm looking forward to it, Harry. I love you much.
All right.